Good morning, children. Welcome to social class. This is Manoj Kumar, working in Oxford High School, Uppugunduru. We have been discussing about forest using and protecting. So, very healthy topic we are going to discuss. That is tribal people lifestyle in the forest. So, regarding the tribal people, earlier session I explained a little bit. The tribal people are the most important people in the forest area, so their lifestyle totally dependent on forest area. They are collecting the tubers, then different kinds of fruits. Okay, especially honey, everything they are collecting and selling outside market and getting little bit of money. That means their total dependency is in the forest only. But they don't have any proper rights over the land. Whenever Britishers entered into India, totally their lifestyle changed. Okay, why they especially tribal people lifestyle changed during the British rule? That part we are going to discuss. 1600 first they entered India. Afterwards they grabbed the power. Who? Britishers. Nearly 200 years Britishers ruled India. By that time, these tribal people completely they lost their rights over the forest. Why? So different reasons are there. Especially for Britishers came to India, their main goal is okay. They wanted to get raw materials from the India to make final goods in Britain. Okay, so they followed the drain theory. They drained our resources. That means here they got the resources. These resources they sent it to Britain and they made goods, and these final goods they sell in Indian market such a way they got profits. So Britishers. So especially they cut down the forest. Who? Britishers. By that period they wanted to lay the railway lines so that they cutted the forest area. Then they wanted to build the ship. For that reason also they cut the forest area. They established some industries. Due to that reason they selected forest area. Then they cutted the trees. For different reasons they cutted the forest area. So here also in initially I written like that. During the last 200 years after the establishment of British rule in our country, the tribal people gradually lost their control and rights over the forest area. By that time, earlier, before arrival of the Britishers, especially forest tribals, they felt that is their own land. Okay, now forest as their own, like that they felt. So, since then, forests were rapidly reduced, cut down, building railways, ships, factories, mines, houses, furniture purpose also, they cut down the forest. So, earlier, paper industry, for paper industries need pulpwood. For that purpose also, they cut down the forest area. Then, forests were cut down to create plantation of tea, coffee, and rubber. Then, so for that purpose also, they cut down the forest. They interested to drink the tea, especially Britishers. So these tea plantation they grown here, and that so product sent it to Britain. So then rubber also they grown here. Then for that purpose they cut down the trees. Later point of view, these eucalyptus trees, eucalyptus in the sense jamail. So eucalyptus trees, then bamboo trees, which grows very fast. They given priority to these trees for sending these trees to paper industry such a way some forest area decreased. Okay. Secondly, the British government wanted to control the felling of trees. So later point of time, Britishers decided to shorten the cutting of the trees. They wanted to control the cutting of the trees. Why? Suppose if they make some laws, automatically total forest area under the control of the Britishers, isn't it or not? That's why they finally decided to make some laws on forest, so that in the year of 1864 and 1878 to create the forest department. They created forest department. Okay, now especially laws they created in the year of 1864, 1878. After that, they created the forest department. What is the role of the forest department? They are protecting the forest. Okay, now so everything under the control of the forest. By that time, automatically with one stroke of the signature, so the rights of the tribal people they lost. Okay, now whenever forest department created by the Britishers, who lost their rights? Tribal people lost their rights. See, similar laws was also passed by the Nizam government in the areas under this control. By that time, some areas controlled by the Nizam government. Okay, na? So other areas controlled by some kingdoms, isn't it or not? Most of the area controlled by the Britishers only. Okay, so these laws restricted the traditional customary rights of the tribals and forest users by classifying the forest as reserved and protected forest. Earlier, especially tribal people having the traditional rights or customary rights. Okay, na? Forest users also somewhat they benefited through the forest. Okay, na? So they are grazing their buffaloes, sheep, isn't it or not? Such a way they benefited. Whenever forest department created by the Britishers, after they made laws in the year of 1864 and 1878, they classified the forest into two groups. One is a reserved forest, another one is a protected forest. What is this, sir? What is the classification of reserved forest and protected forest? Why they made these kind of classifications, sir? Such a doubts arise in your mind. So reserved forest, for example, if you see the reserved forest, so for anybody wanted to go reserve forest, they don't have right to go inside of the reserve forest. Okay, na? Such a laws they made. Who? Britishers. Because these forests are reserved. Okay, there is no entry for anybody. Even tribal people cannot enter the reserved forest area. Protected forest, somewhat it allowed to people. Okay, na? Especially tribal people allowed to protected forest, and forest users also grazing their animals, and they are cutting headloads and carrying it outside market and selling it. That to be few rights given over protected forest. Especially if you take reserve forest, there is no right to anybody to enter into the reserved forest. In the protected forest, only few rights given to tribal people and forest users. Understood? I think so. Reserved forest, no one could enter. There is no entrance to anybody. Protected forest used by the people. But here too, there were many restrictions over cutting trees. Where? In protected forests, grazing more than the limit set by the forest department. Forest department, some rules and regulations they prepared about the protected forest. According to that rules and regulations, okay, na, then especially tribal people or else outside users should use it accordingly. If they use it excessively, then automatically action will be taken by the forest department. Such a way they prepared the laws. A very large number of people lived in this forest and dependent upon their use. Okay, then even now many people are dependent on forest area. So by that time, I am talking about while Britishers were ruling India, many people are dependent on forest area. What happened due to this classification? They lost their livelihood. Isn't especially tribal people lost their livelihood. Okay, they don't know go outside and do the work, certain work. Okay, did not really care for the government at this point. Did not really care for them. That means especially British government also won't care. Okay, na? So little concern these rights of the tribal people. Okay, then in the northern districts of Telangana, especially Gonds. Okay, na? Northern districts of Telangana, Gonds, they have little bit rights over settled lands. That means they have some settled lands. Okay, na? Selected agriculture, especially they are following some selected agriculture, so that they are having some rights over land area, while the columns in the same region, columns also one of the clan they are living. So these columns practiced Podu cultivation on the hill slopes. These people are not having any kinds of rights over land. Understood, I think so. The demarcation of reserve forest in one stroke rendered many tribals without rights and led to forced evictions due to this classification. Which classification? Yes, protected forest and reserve forest. Then so large scale of evictions takes place. So whenever the tribal people lost their rights, then evictions takes place. Eviction means, so they are coming out from the forest area. They forcefully sent it by the forest area. Especially if you see these forest department people coming from highly educated families, highly wealthiest families. In their point of view, these people are innocent people, whose tribal people are. They are, these people are cunning people, whose point of view, forest department point of view. So that they suppressed the, okay, they targeted the tribal people. So they taken over the rights of the tribal people. They harassed the tribal people such a way. So tribal people felt, that means so they faced a lot of troubles in the Britishers period, who especially tribal people. So whenever Britishers then given freedom to India afterwards, then our leaders, they are debating on tribal people. If tribal people come out from the forest area, okay na, if they get jobs, or else if they adopt the technology, if they do the jobs automatically, then their lives will be developed. Okay now they lead settled life, like that they are debating. But in reality, is it possible? So it is not possible. They are believing the forest area, they are depending the forest area. Then our leaders should protect their rights, should make the laws which is useful to the tribal people. By that time only they will be benefited. Okay na? For them, now governments are giving reservations for studies purpose, for education purpose. Some extent it is benefiting. So at the same time, so rights over the forest area should be given to the tribal people. By that time their lives will be, okay na, then polished, developed, isn't it or not? So this is all about tribal people way of life, how they are targeted by the Britishers, like that everything we discussed in this session. Thank you very much.